This video identifies ways in which you can benefit from the study plan. Let's have a look at the course design. This table shown is essentially your knowledge heat map with two courses added, the introduction at the top and the summary at the bottom. In total, we have 250 videos over the program. This full overview will help you in planning and budgeting your time. This path follows the content in life cycle order. Starting with the top left of the screen and moving to the right, we'll start with the introduction to the PHR. This will then be led by the employment legislation course, followed by business management, and then talent planning and acquisition will complete the top half. We'll continue our journey with the bottom right to left with learning and development, and then total rewards, followed by employee and labor relations, and we'll finish with the PHR exam summary. The study plan we walked through earlier will complement this path over a 12-week period. We have some other options to consider as well. Functional weighting leverages the weighting of the 5 functional areas. Knowledge gap identifies areas where you need to increase your score. Time factor uses your plan in action time calculator to assess the time. Starting with employee and labor relations as the highest weighted area at 39% and building your path in descending weight order to learning and development at the lowest weighted area at 10%. You can do the reverse order. Let's take a look at these two paths. For the highest weighted path, we start from the top of the screen and move to the right with the introduction to the PHR, then employee and labor relations at 39%, followed by business management at 20%, and then we round out the top with talent planning and acquisition at 16%. Moving from the bottom right to the left with total rewards at 15%, then learning and development at 10%, and then we'll follow with employment legislation and finish up with a PHR exam summary. Employment legislation is highlighted because this can be taken in any order. I would include it last because it's incorporated into the other functional areas. If you're starting with the lowest weighted path, it may be helpful to have the foundation of employment legislation, so I recommend this as a second course. Starting from the top left of the screen and moving to the right with Introduction to PHR, then you have your employment legislation as I recommended, and then we'll follow by learning and development at 10%, and then we'll move to total rewards at 15% to round out the top half. We'll move from the bottom right to the left with talent planning at 16%, followed by business management at 20%, and then employment and labor relations at 39%. And we'll finish with the PHR summary. For knowledge gap options, you'll have 3 approaches. Your knowledge heat map, where you can address your lowest ratings, or you can look to increase your competencies. If you have a practice exam, you can assess your skills in each of the PHR functional areas and then identify where you want to improve your scores. Another approach would be to target the areas where you want to use as your starting point and then build your path forward. For time sequencing factors, here are your choices. You can start with short time periods to study, for example, only afternoons each week. Short time until the exam, perhaps using this as a refresher. If you have a longer time period to balance, perhaps you're doing this as meeting the exam requirements. Whatever your situation, our program is flexible and portable, allowing you to consume your learning when you need it, where you need it. For your short time burst path, I recommend taking the bookends first to help plan with the end in mind. This path will display the number of courses and videos within each of the functional areas. So starting from the top left of the screen and moving to the right, we have the introduction to the PHR. And then we have the PHR exam summary, followed by business management, and then talent planning and acquisition completes the top half. We continue this journey from the bottom right to the left with learning and development, and then total rewards, followed by employee and labor relations, and then we'll have employment legislation, and then we'll have the PHR exam summary again if that is then needed. Each course and functional area can stand alone, so you can study in any particular order. I do recommend keeping the functional areas together if you're newer to the HR profession. If you're looking for a specific area of study, picking from here will also be beneficial. As you start to delve into the content, here are some things to keep in mind. For legislation, do not try to memorize the content. However, do relate it to familiar situations for faster recall. As you come across models, learn the concepts and how they apply to the tools to make your job more efficient. Always be thinking about questions. Find exam-type questions in the content and prepare for unexpected questions. Try to simplify. Look for ways to synthesize the content. It needs to be digested.